Potassium is up there as one of the most important minerals that your body needs because of the amount of roles potassium takes on in your body to essentially regulate your muscle contractions, maintain healthy nerve function, and regulate the fluid balance in and out of the body. It's also an important electrolyte which carries an electrical charge when it gets dissolved into your body to do a number of important things which we'll get into. But before doing so, we have to talk about what happens with low potassium. What are the levels to watch for, the signs and symptoms to keep in mind? We'll start with the timeline of what happens first if your potassium is too low. Then I'll get into the intermediate progression of the deficiency and who may be at more risk for low potassium and what you could do right now to make sure those symptoms don't play out any more severe than they need to. Also, definitely stay tuned until the end of the video because I'll be going over one food that is lowering your potassium that you probably would never even think of. So you definitely want to stay tuned until the end for that. Hi guys, Yuskin Arslan, Media Pharmacist here on YouTube. If you guys want to learn more about making informed decisions about your health and wellness in an easy to understand way, then consider hitting that red subscribe button down below to stay up to date with new weekly videos. Also, a super easy way to support the channel is to take 2 seconds to gently tap that like button down below. Now let's get started. One thing I noticed when you search potassium deficiency online, there seems to be a bit of confusion when it comes to how you develop potassium deficiency in the first place, as some might attribute that to not getting enough potassium in your diet and not eating enough potassium-rich foods, and that's simply not true. Technically, it could happen, but decreased potassium intake from food by itself rarely results in low potassium. It can happen, but it's rare, and this is because of how powerful our kidneys are having that ability to balance potassium and make sure the levels are always in the range from 3.5 to 5 milliequivalents per liter. Even if it has to steal potassium from other areas in the body, your kidneys will always ensure the potassium is in check because it knows that if it's not, it can be deadly, and the kidneys know that, so it's doing its job whether you're asleep, awake, at the gym, or in line at Krispy Kreme for a glazed donut. It's keeping up a healthy balance. It's only when potassium is under 3.5 where the risks of hypokalemia or low potassium starts to arise. And no, that's not from the donuts per se. It's from the outcomes that we'll get into. So if it's not from our diets per se, then what is it from? What's causing low potassium? Well, malnutrition or diuretic therapy is a good starting point for a potential cause. Let's say if you're on a water pill and you're constantly flushing out potassium and other electrolytes. Other big factors that cause low potassium are vomiting, chronic diarrhea, having a magnesium deficiency, which will cause a potassium deficiency as the two are related, having an eating disorder such as bulimia and nervosa, alcoholism, excessive sweating, chronic kidney disease, as well as some other medicines that can cause low potassium, which the typical ones being insulin and medicines classified as water pills, which can affect your lab readings when your potassium is being tested because certain medications shift potassium in and out of your cells, which does have an impact on how your levels will read out on paper. Because it may be difficult to get a good read on your potassium levels depending on whether or not your potassium is in your bloodstream or hiding inside your cells where they tend to be the most. Which is why it's important to look for the signs and symptoms of low potassium to get extra clues to identify if we potentially have low potassium. And to start, let's look at the mild symptoms first. And I'll pull up a chart here that should help put things in a better perspective and make this easy to look at. So mild, as you can see, is anything from 3 to 3.5, and we have here that it says asymptomatic, which means you won't see any symptoms with mildly low potassium in the body. But if I were to go with what could potentially arise, it would be the feeling of being tired more often than not and not having that same energy to walk a flight of stairs that you used to, or if you notice that your regular routine work that you would do, such as walking your dog, all of a sudden feels a lot more tiring. It could be a sign of low potassium, but keep in mind that it's not definitive. And that goes for both physical and mental tiredness and fatigue as well. So the feeling of unexplained fatigue would be mild in my opinion. Now let's go to the moderate signs. Moderate is anything from 2.5 to 3. And we see here that we get cramping, weakness, malaise, which is basically general discomfort, and myalgia, which is basically muscle pain. And muscle pain tends to be a big complaint with low potassium, and happens essentially because potassium helps relay the signals from your brain to stimulate the contractions in the muscles, right? And when you're low, your brain can't relay these signals as effectively, causing a lagged contraction, which in turn causes those cramps in the first place. As far as the severe signs goes, severe, as you can see, is anything under 2.5, which will cause big changes on the heart monitor that can be detected, as well as causing arrhythmias, which are irregular heart rhythms that your doctor will also see on the ECG, which then gets treated with IV potassium replacement under your doctor's care. Now that we got the symptoms out of the way, the question of supplementing potassium naturally comes up next, or if you should just stick to eating potassium-rich foods. As I said earlier, it is rare for a potassium deficiency to be caused by low potassium from food intake alone, because it's found in so many foods and you're likely getting enough potassium on a daily basis, except of course the conditions I mentioned: heavy sweating, diarrhea, vomiting, diuretics. Oh, and one more being laxative abuse, which I know is a serious issue out there. So other than these conditions, you're likely fine, and if you were to supplement one, if you wanted, with of course your doctor's approval first, there are many out there such as potassium gluconate, aspartate, bicarbonate, and the popular one being potassium chloride. And the best one will largely depend on what your underlying condition is. So talk to your pharmacist first to find the best one tailored for you. And in the meantime, if you're curious about foods with high potassium, take a look at this list here, with turmeric, ginger, and pistachios being some of my favorite potassium foods. And since you made it this far in the video, guys, I told you I'd share with you that one food that you probably never knew to be a cause of lowering your potassium, and that is black licorice.
Licorice, when consumed in large quantities, can reach a really low potassium level, which can lead to heart rhythm problems and lead to cardiac arrest, as in this case.
Weeks before his death, doctors say the 54-year-old switched from red licorice to black. The deadly difference came down to a compound called glycyrrhizin, a sweetener used only for black licorice.
Black licorice contains a compound called glycyrrhizin that comes from licorice root that can lower your potassium levels and can even cause abnormal heart arrhythmias. So eating too much black licorice can make your heart skip a beat or two, or possibly even more. Especially those over 40 with a history of heart disease and or high blood pressure. Just something to be aware of. Click that red subscribe button down below and let me know what your thoughts are with this video. I know this isn't a complete breakdown of everything you need to know about potassium, but I really hope that this is a good starting point. Always speak with your doctor or pharmacist before starting any new supplement, and as always, guys, I'll see you on the next one.